Even if the Pawn Star show is a success and the audience saw some fantastic deals, a pawn shop cannot operate without losing money from time to time. Certain agreements, it appears, are doomed to fail, and the folks at the Las Vegas Gold and Silver Pawn Shop are no exception. As it turns out, these pawnbrokers have been in several difficult circumstances over the previous 10 years, some of which have resulted in severe confrontations. And in today's video, we shall look at times when customers threatened our favorite pawnbrokers. So, let's roll. Unhappy seller.
I'm a collector and I picked these up, and you can see that the barrels rotate so you can load 2 shots at once.
When it comes to guns, you either love them, hate them, or you're ambivalent. A true gun aficionado can tell you everything there is to know about firearms, especially the kinds that they prefer. Rare firearms with historical significance are frequently the most valuable in terms of money. Because of its relevance and desire among collectors, the value and price tag are inflated. They're more than just weapons or things to be afraid of. Collectible firearms have some sort of backstory that makes them fascinating and gives them a kind of inherent value. And it turns out, they're also popular pawn items. And the customer arrived with a stunning pair of rifles to pawn.
What is this?
They're hunting rifles. They are a 2-shot 45 caliber percussion cap.
They did appear to be remarkable, but as we know, it's not that easy to woo Rick. He just went about his business as usual.
These were developed in 1870-ish.
They would be earlier than that. By 1870, the percussion cap was going the way of the dinosaur.
And when the gun expert came down to look at them, he said they were only about $750 tops. This infuriated the proud seller.
All right, so what are they worth?
$750 tops a
Each?
piece. Yeah.
Okay.
1,000 maybe.
That would be your crybaby option, he said savagely in response to his disgrace to his baby guns.
So
That would be your crybaby, whiny-assed opinion.
yes, actually it would be.
After the uncomfortably loud gasp, Rick burst out laughing, as he was deeply moved by the elderly man's indecent remarks. And after some good negotiating, they settled on a price of $140.
Okay, $1,450.
$1,400, thanks. 1,400.
$1,400, thank
right.
you.
Diablo clock.
I gotta believe I can sell this clock, but it might take a while. The Diablo insignia might not appeal to a lot of buyers.
Lamborghini commissioned Breguet to design a dashboard clock for their new Diablo model in the 1990s. It was offered as an upgrade option for $10,200 at the time. Only roughly 50 of these pieces were manufactured, making it extremely rare today, which is why it had a chance to appear on our favorite reality pawn program. Breguet created this analog clock as an optional accessory for Lamborghini Diablo sports cars. The clock is housed in a textured black outer bezel and has a gold-colored inner bezel with red Diablo letters, a winding knob, and a stopwatch function button. An old rich guy came in with the clock. Looking at it, Rick was drooling.
Hey, how can I help you?
I've got a Lamborghini dash clock.
But Chumlee wished that the customers had brought the Lamborghini instead. Jokes aside, the deal was one of a kind.
Would have been a lot cooler if you brought in the car.
To me, that's a little bit cooler than the car itself.
You really are a nerd.
Rick explained to the audience why he was so pleased to watch such a piece. Lamborghini automobiles first appeared on the market in the mid-1960s.
Well, these were made by Breguet for Lamborghini in the introduction of the Diablo in 1990 through 1993.
And since then, they've been producing some of the coolest and most costly sports cars in the world for the guy who has everything.
They've been making some of the coolest and most expensive sports cars in the world. For the guy who's got everything, it's the ultimate status symbol.
The asking price was $3,000, which started another round of jokes, but the customer was not in the mood of fooling around. So Rick also got serious.
Wholesale was around $6,000, so I was thinking around $3,000.
They depreciate just like the Lamborghini.
I don't think he's funny.
He told the customer that he can only go as high as $2,000, as selling this baby is going to take a lot of work, as not everyone is a clock collector.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $2,000. I gotta find a Lamborghini fan and I gotta find a really expensive clock collector.
After a long time of thinking, the old guy agreed to the price of $23,000.
How How about 22?
24.
I'll go 2,300 bucks.
Okay.
All right, deal.
Hudson Bay Gorget.
What do you know about this thing?
As far as I know, it was made by Hudson Bay, somewhere probably around 1700s.
New types of antiques coming up in the pawn shop are one of my favorite aspects of the show. Though these military gorgets are very impressive, I had never heard of gorgets. I did a little research and have come to find that we have some pretty special gorgets on our hands. Are you familiar with them? Well, if you're a collector of antique military items, you probably are familiar with them. But otherwise, they're not too common of a thing to see. Chris, on the other hand, came in with one.
What do you know about this thing?
As far as I know, it was made by Hudson Bay, somewhere probably around 1700s.
Chris had a hard time containing his range when he was told that the object he brought was worth far less than he believed.
Hudson Bay is one of the oldest companies in the world. I want to try to get 100,000 out of it, but I'll have to see what he offers me.
He was asking $100,000 for the Bay Gorget.
And how much you want for it?
Probably about 100,000.
So an old man named Rick came over to take a look, and soon grasped the value of the item.
I've got a Hudson Bay Gorget, made probably around the 1700s.
Hey, Rick.
What's up?
He told the vendor it was worth significantly less than he was asking for. Precisely $99,000 less.
I don't see that happening.
Why not?
Because I think it's worth a lot less.
How much less?
99,000 less.
Because the item was built of fake material, Rick's offer was pretty reasonable.
It looks like it might have been a trade piece to the Indians. That's Venetian glass.
However, the customer lost it and turned down the offer with some foul language.
Zinc wasn't isolated, really, until the 1800s.
All right, what the are you talking about?
That didn't sit well with Rick, so we inquired as to what the hell he was talking about.
I don't know what you're smoking, man, but that's not gonna work, so I'm gonna take my stuff and leave.
All right, have a nice day.
When Rick queried the man about the item, he stated he didn't know much about its cost,
I don't know a whole lot about it. My dad actually got it. He picked it up at an auction.
as his father took out a second mortgage on the property to purchase it at an auction.
Do you know what he paid for it?
A second mortgage on his house.
The Pez Guy.
You could put these on the internet individually and definitely make your money back on these.
Well, man, I'm not looking to break even at all.
Not everyone who enters the Pawn Stars gets exactly what he wants. Pawning is, in essence, a negotiation game. Nobody knows this better than the stars of the popular reality show Pawn Stars. This indicates that if a buyer asks for too much for an item, he will eventually have to leave without a deal. This is exactly what happened to one collector who was a little too serious about himself. It all started when a proud collector entered the store with his 1960s Pez collection.
I got a Pez collection I'm looking to unload today.
Each candy dispenser was stored in mint condition with its original box, and Mickey Mouse and Batman are among his popular characters.
I have the Mickey Mouse in the original box. One of my coolest pieces I like is the original Batman, very tough to find.
While looking at the collection, Chumlee playfully asked the owner if there was any candy inside the dispensers. But the owner didn't like that comment and answered that there was none.
Got any candy?
No, these have no candy in them at all. These are all from the 1960s, 1970s.
Viewers could easily tell that both Pawn Stars were not much interested in buying the collection, and the customer also seemed annoyed by their lack of interest. Ultimately, Corey Harrison offers the man $1,000 for his collection of Pez dispensers.
What do you want for him?
I'd like to grab $2,500 for them.
I had to grab it somewhere else. $1,000 is what I can do.
It's fine.
All right, buddy,
Get out of here,
good day.
man.
The owner scoffed and said that there was going to be a no deal. But that's the way the cookie crumbles in the pawn world.
I can't believe one of them guys offered me $1,000 for them 50 pieces of Pez. That's an insult to the Pez community. I can't believe it.
Joe Jackson autograph.
I have a book signed by Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Joseph Jefferson Jackson is one of the most well-known baseball players of all time. His outfield play was legendary, but because of his role in the 1919 Black Sox scandal, his name is also synonymous with scandal.
Yeah, the story is that him and 7 other guys on the 1919 Chicago White Sox took money to fix the World Series.
Rick took another ill-fated gamble without consulting his trusted experts in the Season 6 episode, Say It Ain't So, spending $13,000 on a book he believed contained the original signature of baseball legend Shoeless Joe Jackson.
This is absolutely incredible. When you talked about old baseball players, you would have talked about Lou Gehrig, Joe Jackson, and Babe Ruth.
Rick was ecstatic throughout the evaluation, exclaiming, "This is simply wonderful," and suggesting that because Jackson was illiterate, it could be the rarest sports signature, period.
Do you know how rare it is to find his signature?
No, not at all.
It's the rarest sports signature, period.
But there was still some skepticism, and when Rick asked whether there was a chance something was bogus, the client became irritated and threatened to leave. So Rick bought it, despite the seller's dubious certificate of authenticity and his own reservations. And clearly, of all the sports signatures in the world, this was the one that seemed the most forged. Rick forwarded the signature to another authenticator after hearing from Rebecca, his book specialist, that it was most certainly a counterfeit. Not only was it a forgery, but it was also an embarrassingly terrible one.
What I know about Shoeless Joe Jackson is that he fixed a World Series and he played a baseball game without shoes.
Sculpture is fake.
How you doing, gentlemen?
Oh, pretty good.
I have a bronze statue I'd like to sell.
Do you know much about it?
I don't know what to tell you about that.
In the second season, a customer walked into the shop with the intention of selling a Perseus and Pegasus statue by Émile Louis Picoult for a good price.
This is a statue called Pegasus, and this is Perseus. Perseus was the mythological figure that killed Medusa.
Unfortunately for him, he was confronted with someone who was familiar with Picoult's work.
The helmet he's wearing right here made him invisible.
You got me. I don't know what you're talking about.
As Rick was aware that his statues were highly collectible and worth thousands of dollars.
This was his most famous one. If this is a genuine Picoult, we're talking thousands of dollars.
So he gave the item a thorough inspection after only a few seconds. Rick became suspicious when he noticed markings on the statue that did not match the period in which it was produced.
What doesn't look right is there's some pitting right here. And that crack right there is from when they casted it. It didn't happen later.
He also discovered etched markings on the monument, indicating it was created in the United States, which established that the statue was a replica, because the creator is French.
Picoult was an artist in France. He was born in the 1830s, died around 1915. He did a lot of mythological stuff.
This statement, on the other hand, infuriated the customer, who began screaming at Rick, accusing him of being a jerk.
What you've seen and what you can prove is two different stories.
I see this all the time. People will bring in things like this, and I tell them it's not real.
As the tension grew, pawn shop security guard Anthony began walking towards the customer in case an intervention was required.
I don't care what you tell me, but I know you're full of
You know, it's all right, Antoine. I got it.
Fortunately, the old guy calmly but firmly explained that they were not interested in purchasing the statue.
We really appreciate you bringing it in, but it's not for us. That's all I can tell you. I'm glad he didn't want to buy.
Before we go on to the last part of our list, we'd love to hear your thoughts on today's video, as well as if you have any other favorite shows that you'd like to see on our channel. Time machines.
It's an 18th century flintlock pistol used around the Revolutionary War period. After they'd shoot something, and they'd flip it around and...
The following example did not include a client threatening the Pawn Stars. Instead, it involved someone's wife threatening him if he did not sell the item. He's brought something to the shop. In the first season episode Time Machines, a guy brought a flintlock pistol he had purchased at a gun exhibition.
Where'd you get it?
I got it at a gun show. There was a seller there who had got it from a estate sale.
Corey quickly recognized the potential of an interesting piece of history and decided to get the help of a vintage firearms specialist to assess the gun's value.
You know, I just don't know if it's real. I'd like to call in an expert.
Okay.
If it is real, then I can definitely take it and we can probably work out a deal.
Though both Corey and the customer were initially ecstatic to learn that if the gun is authentic, it could be worth up to $2,500.
What do you think it's worth?
If it's authentic and to the period, anywhere between $1,500 and $2,500.
Their hopes were quickly dashed when it was discovered that the gun in question was not authentic and was instead a modern recast of an old design worth about $75.
This is, unfortunately, a reproduction.
How much is this thing worth?
Its value would be about $75 to $100.
The customer was visibly upset, claiming that the person from whom he purchased the gun had told him that it had been a family heirloom for generations.
Yeah, so, okay, maybe the thing is a fake.
In fact, it was because of that narrative that he felt safe paying $800 outside the store, despite the customer threatening him with his wife.
My wife was pissed when I bought this gun. Now she's really gonna kill me.
Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.